have 1,000,000,000?
I would be so sad.
It can break you.
Maybe I'd take a step back.
What is talent?
When will it ever be enough?
The tonality, you're born with it.
What is it that you're trying to achieve?
We get to a very good point now.
What would we do if we won the lottery?
How do you make them understand?
It is still something I'm struggling with.
I have to do this.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. What sacrifices have you made?
Whatever pays.
Tell me about some of the challenges.
Nowadays, influencer is a job.
Why?
I'm a big believer in no regret.
That's not life.
To make people feel something.
How did you overcome them?
Wishful thinking.
If you had a chance to release 10 songs a year, even quality-wise might not be that great, but that's still the message that you want to deliver to your audience. Or to a situation that you want to release one song that's like very high quality. Imagine that in 10 years, you would have only 10 songs.
Yeah.
But if you release so-called album or 10 songs, you're going to make a lot of progress. And so which one would you choose and why?
Oh, I think I would choose the 10 songs.
Okay, why?
Just because I feel like the amount I write and the amount I improve with every song, I just want to have that progression. It's hard because I have had both scenarios. So I had this one song with a DJ friend of mine, Waffle, who's based in Paris, and we wrote this song and we actually got it signed with a label, and it got like, I don't know, 200,000-300,000 views, and it's a great song. But since then I've wrote so many songs that I think are better, and I've maybe released even a few of them, but they've not done as well. But I know that it's better. Deep down, I myself as the artist and the creator of it know that it's better. So I just feel like it wouldn't be authentic for me to do that, because I like proving, whether that's to myself or to an audience, the progression and the improvement of me as an artist and as a creator. So I think, I definitely choose 10 songs in a year and then have lots of...
Have the experience and progress from it, rather than just perfecting
everything. Nothing is going to be
That's the new era
perfect.
disease, because we see all these pictures online, all these people online, and we think that's life.
It's so dangerous.
Them in a suit, them in that glamorous clothes.
Yeah.
That's life. But that's not really life. That's
me
just
and my
one
fancy
snippet.
blazer. I don't dress like this
But
normally.
that's just a snippet of what's going on in my life, in your life, in everybody else's life.
Exactly.
So going back to the subject of studying, why didn't you study music? Why did you study languages? I bet that helped though, because did it?
It did. I think the reason I didn't was like, again, without making it sound as if I was like really, I had a hard childhood. I didn't. I was so fortunate being brought up, and my parents, again, are so supportive in everything I do and have always been like that. But I do feel like when I was at school, so, when I was doing my GCSEs 10 years ago, there was that pressure, there was that kind of pressure of you have to do like, science or, languages, or there wasn't really the option or any kind of proof of people doing what I wanted to do. There wasn't TikTok, there wasn't Instagram as big as it is now, of all these kind of, like nowadays, influencer is a job. And I respect that. Like, people earn good money from doing that. But that wasn't like an option when I was at school, or at least it wasn't encouraged. And so I think, like, whether I realized it or not, I was kind of feeling the pressure from that, the school system, my parents, again, even though they were so supportive one way or another, I think they genuinely believed, and I'm sure they would stand by that decision today, of you should go and do a proper degree, or like a subject that like you've got because of, again, they didn't know anything about the music industry. I've got friends that have gone to university or college and studied music, and they have musicians in the family, and they can see that trajectory of how you can earn money and do it professionally. I never had that. I never had examples of that growing up. So I think it was just always, well, I'm going to go do that and get the degree, and then I'll see how I feel. If I still want to do music, I'll go and do it. And obviously, as I said to you, I've continued to do it for 2.5 years, 3 years. And it makes me so happy.
That's all that matters. Tell me about the last song that you released and what's the story behind it.
Okay, so my most recent single is a song called Wishful Thinking. And I wrote it about a year ago, maybe slightly longer, kind of around that period I was telling you about, where I took a step back. I had the zoom out moment of taking a step back from music and trying to kind of make lift a little bit of heaviness from me. And I had organised a writing session on Zoom with a friend of mine, Chris, and he is a writer, so he's kind of this writer side of the industry, and I'm obviously an artist and writer, and he is an incredible writer, but also is having those same struggles that I'm having, where like, you know, you're reaching out to labels or this, that, and the other, not getting any response. It's very kind of, you know, it's hard for you mentally to kind of have that keep going and not having anyone respond, and just feeling like you're kind of screaming into a void. That was kind of the subject matter, I guess, and that was how the song Wishful Thinking was created. And then without going into too much detail, very long story short, I was approached by a label, and the label signed the song. So I signed over pretty much all my rights to the song. I recorded it in the studio, mastered it, did a video for it. And then the label, for one reason or another, again, which I can't say, couldn't fulfill their end of the bargain and actually ended up closing down. But then I had to buy back my song. So it was a bit ironic, really, because the whole song was about how, like, essentially hard and kind of shit, I'm going to say the word shit, the industry is, and how you've got this wishful thinking of wanting this, that, and the other. And then I signed this song over and then had to buy everything back, even though I created this song in the first place. It was very messy.
Wow.
So I ended up releasing it independently.
Tell me about some of the challenges that you've had during your musical journey, and how did you overcome them?
I think from the perspective of even this example of wishful thinking and how you deal with things the best way for your career without having kind of management. I'm lucky, as I say, that I have my parents and my partner's really supportive and my sister, and I have that kind of family support network. But as much as they are wonderful in trying to suggest the best thing that they think would be the best thing, they're not experts in it. They don't know. So I think what I've struggled with is not having that kind of person in the know, as I say, whether that's a manager or a label, that kind of has my best interests at heart and knows how to navigate it. I'm just learning as I'm going, and I am making mistakes. And I've learned a lot in 2.5, 3 years. I mean, I've been gigging for 10, but I've been doing it full time properly and immersed in the whole thing for 2.5, 3. So I think the challenges have definitely been, how do I navigate this? Whether that's with a contract or the way in which you react to something, or sounds like I'm being a bit cryptic, but it's because with this specific example, I can't really go into the detail of it.
Sure. Yeah, it can be very challenging.
Yeah.
As a musician, you have to do a lot of things, because as much as music is a very attention-seeking industry that needs a lot of attention, that you have to take a lot of time writing a song for weeks that might not go anywhere after even a few weeks.
Yeah.
You know? But at the same time, you have to support yourself financially and maybe have side hustle, which is totally normal. What sacrifices have you made that you can say, like, when my friends or people that I know were out partying, I had to just sit at home or go to work and do these things to make sure that things that I vision is going to happen.
Well, I think you've answered it, which is like friends. I have a few really close friends, and then friends that I love but I just don't get to see. For me, the sacrifice is time with friends and family, because if I want to earn money, I'm gigging, I'm doing those kind of, you know, corporates or whatever pays weddings, and unfortunately they are very unsociable hours. But I have to earn the money in order to obviously live, because as I say to you, like, I'm an adult, I have a house and expenses and I've got to live, and that's expensive. And I also want to save for my project, because I finance the whole thing myself and have done for as long as I can remember. So I do think that the sacrifice for me is time with friends and family. And there are friends that I absolutely love who I don't see enough of. And it's always like, right, when can we see each other? okay, so I've got this Saturday free in August next year. Maybe not quite that long, but you know.
Yeah.
Right, so we're now in August. Okay, so October, that's going to look good.
Mm.
And you have to balance everything else, right? Like you have to have a bit of time for yourself. I want to make sure that I'm providing enough time and support for my partner and his life and his goals and my family, that, you know, they give a lot to me, but I don't just want to be take. I want to support them if I can as well.
Of course.
Whether that's emotionally or whatever. So it is still something I'm struggling with.
We get to a very good point now. How do you make them understand that, like, I have to do this, you know, I have to take my time for a whole month writing this song that might not go anywhere after a month?
Do you know what? I'm so lucky that they all get it. They all get it, and I don't know whether that's been a gradual thing over the years. Maybe there were moments they don't spring to mind where well, why are you doing that? Like, you know, we've got this party. It's never like that. It's like, you got to do it. Come on. And I feel like I'm lucky because they get it, but also because I think that is kind of a subliminal way of them believing in me, because they wouldn't encourage it if they didn't think you've really got a chance of doing something with it. Obviously there are times where, you know, I disappoint them, or they're disappointed because I can't make something, or I've got this gig or something pops up, but it's good money, so I can't turn it down and I've got to do it. But very, very often they're the ones that are like, come on, get on with it. You got this. You can do it. I don't think everyone can say that. So I am very, very, very lucky.
Talking about hard work and talent. Okay, do you think talent exists?
Yeah.
What is talent?
Great question. I feel like I'm thinking of it from a perspective of like musically, like, are you in tune? Have you got good tone? Have you got things like that? Do you, you know, create some sort of emotion among other people when you sing, when you perform, when you play a guitar or whatever? I think that maybe is the answer. Like talent is like that ability to make people feel something. Because
personally for me, I think talent doesn't exist. I think people, that's my perception.
Yeah.
I think people have privileges.
Yeah.
That leads them to a certain position in life.
I think that's a really, really valid point.
For example, if you have parents that are musical, you're constantly listening to those frequencies.
Yeah.
When you're born, you have some kind of a perception of music.
Yeah.
You know, naturally, you're going to grow into it.
Yeah.
If you've been giving the guitar when you were 5, you're going to play around with it. So you're going to have those privileges.
It's a really different way to look at it. I personally feel like natural talent exists in people. Like some people, like quite clearly as a kid, I could sing. Whether that was well or like there was a little bit of something. But that wasn't really based on, like my parents weren't singers. Like they loved music, but it wasn't like constant. But I 100% agree with you that talent will only bring you so far. If I didn't have, you know, I wasn't lucky enough to be in a position where my parents could pay for singing lessons or, you know, send me to a school where like the teachers were, I don't know, you know, really passionate about it and pushed me in this, I wouldn't be where I am. Because I don't think that raw talent that I had, other people have, takes you to having a career in it or being successful. So I kind of, I hear what you're saying. I personally feel like it's this much talent and this much circumstance.
Hard work and, yeah, of course.
And privilege, like you say.
I think having those privileges is very important, and being in the right time, in the right moment. Sometimes it happens naturally.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like having a tonality like Adele or people like her, it's not something that you can play around with.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. The tonality, you're born with it.
You're born with it. That's it.
You can't really mess around with that. Don't get me wrong. There are, nowadays we're living in 2023. There are possibilities with surgeons nowadays.
I know.
But back to the point, there are things that you can't mess around with.
Natural talent.
That natural
exists.
voice that you have, that's what you got.
Yeah.
But you gotta work your butt off.
Yeah.
with singing lesson, with maybe instrument lessons and stuff like that,
to be able to
cultivate
to
a point that gets you somewhere.
I mean, you look at, like you said, Adele's trajectory as an artist. You look at her first album, 19, all the way through to 30. There is such a massive, and it's not just age that has made her kind of go from this to this. It's all the other things, you know, the vocal coaching, she's had surgery, and again, I think that was because she had like nodules or something that was unhealthy for her for her vocals, but there are so many things in between that will have contributed to her having this incredible record that is 30 or whatever your favorite one is. I think mine's probably 21 or 25. But 19's giving you that raw talent that's kind of not been cultivated quite as much. It's not been shaped. And then you see that big 11-year gap to where she is now. And it's just like miles apart. And that's not just time. That's like other factors coming into play.
We see that a lot in the industry, that we see the absence of artists working on themselves for a while, maybe to disappear for a few years. I think for them it's that zoom out time, that they just look at, what am I doing? I'm just making progress, I'm getting a lot of attention from people, but where do I want to be in 10 years? You know, it's not. I think when you get to that point, you realize that it's not only about money, it's other stuff, and getting all those attention in sometimes can be very overwhelming. You know, I gotta for a second, I gotta zoom out to maybe put a pause on my life, to be able to strengthen all my whatever going on inside, to be able to take all those in, because it's a lot of pressure.
It is.
It can break you.
It really can. And I think, like, for me, because a lot of people ask me, like, oh, you know, if this opportunity was to have come to you at 16 when you first started doing it, 17, and I'm a big believer in no regrets and things happening for a reason, and you are in the right place at the right time. I don't think I could have handled, you know, whether that, I'm not saying again I'm famous now, but I couldn't have kind of handled the industry or the pressures or the balance of everything at 16, 17. And everything that's kind of happened the way it's happened has made me where I am now and the person that I am now. And I think if you're kind of thrown into that almost unexpectedly, and that pressure and that social media, and it's a lot for people to take. It doesn't matter what your support system's like, you're the one that goes to bed at the end of the night in the room, and you know.
Making a stupid example is that statistics shows that I think it's 90% of the people who win the lottery, they lose it within a few years.
Yeah, I've heard
that. You know, but if you give it to somebody who knows what to do with it, you know, it's the same. It can be translated to being in a better place or a more successful place in life. You know, 100%. When you know what to do with it, you know. Because you've been on that journey, you've learned everything about it. But if I give it to somebody who hasn't got the capability mentally and physically, it would even break them. You can see the story of people, somebody might just comment now and say, give the million to me, I know what to do with it. But the thing is, it might break you. That's the reality of it.
It's so interesting you say that, because my boyfriend and I, we always joke and we're like, oh, what would we do? What would we do if we won the lottery? Like, what would change? And I always think, like, I don't think a lot would change. Like, maybe we'd obviously be more kind of financially stable. But I'd still do what I'm doing now. Maybe I'd take a step back from, like, the gigging side just to kind of focus more on the artist stuff. But, like, I still want to work, because that's, like, what makes me tick. Like, I can't sit at home all day or go on holiday 3 days, like, you know, 3 months of the year, 6 months of the year.
I love that.
I couldn't do that.
I love that.
I would. So we always joke about that. I'm like, I'd love it. Don't tell me I wouldn't, because I would. But I don't know how much would change for me.
I love what you said when you said that even if I win the lottery, I still go to work. Because that's the mindset. Look at all the so-called successful people in the world. They got millions, they got billions, they still go to work. Because the mentality that I'm going to have a lot of money, I'm going to sit down and do nothing in life, that's not life.
No.
My body is not designed to sit down and do nothing. Don't get me wrong, it's good to go on holidays, relax. There's nothing wrong with that. but my body hasn't been designed to sit down and do nothing.
No, exactly. And I would say that those kinds of people, the ones that are really successful, they have that drive that will never go away. It doesn't matter, like that's what got them to where they are. It doesn't matter how much money you then have. It's like you still have that kind of drive in you to get up every day and either make more or create more or do more. Always that more. I feel like that's very much me as a person. I'm like, well, that's great. Like, look at how far I've come in a year, but it's still not enough. And I do believe that there's a positive with that because it pushes you. But the negative that comes with that is, well, when will it ever be enough? What is it that you're trying to achieve if it's more all the time? Can you not be content with what you've achieved or what you've earned or what you've done?
It's very interesting. That definition in our mind, definition of the same words, during time it changes. Like in the beginning, it's just, as you said, it might be me. Then you get to a certain point, you realize, I want to add value.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do when you have $1 billion? You want to add value to your surrounding, to your family, to friends, to the society. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gets to that point. What do you do? How much stuff can you buy?
Well, this is it. And like for me, if I won £1 million or, you know, if I suddenly became super successful and earned all my millions, it would be pointless if I didn't have my family and my friends. It just wouldn't mean anything. Like for me, I am so family and friend orientated that it's like those are when I'm like my happiest, and even if it's a show I'm at and they're there, it's like, well, that's what I'm doing it for.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
I think I've given myself this advice.
Okay.
But it's like, just be a bit more ballsy with your decision making, because as a girl, as a woman growing up, you get rightly or wrongly taught to kind of, especially when I was younger, maybe not so much now the way things are going, but to be taught to kind of be polite and not too loud and, you know, making sure that you're saying the right thing, not being too overbearing. That isn't going to get you anywhere in music. So even my dad, like, he knows, I think he's maybe changed the way he thinks about this, having seen how it is, but would always, you know, don't kind of bother them, like, or don't text twice or don't email twice or maybe wait to do this call. It's like, no, there's literally no time like the present. Don't worry about badgering people, because that is the only way you're going to make something and have someone respond. Like, as an example of A&R, like, they, you know, have hundreds of emails coming in a day. You might send 10 emails and they don't look at one of them, but the next time you send it might be the one time that they click it. You know? Yeah. It's just, don't worry about being polite. Just, obviously you've got to be kind, right? Like, I'm a big believer in being kind and speaking to people with respect. But there's a way you can do it with be daring, be more ballsy. Like,
of course. If you win a £1 million, what would you do?
I would pay my mortgage.
Okay.
I would give my parents money. I would give I'd give my whole family something. Because again, they just are very supportive. So it's like, I'm sure, you know, if I accumulated how much my parents have spent on me over the years for my career and my music, I probably would be over. No, I'm kidding. Probably be over the £1 million. No, I'm kidding. But I think that would be really important. And I would love to, selfishly, I would love to invest it in my project. I really would. Whether that's hiring someone to, like, you know, do that emailing for me, or like, come on, like, I'm going to pay you X amount and we're going to email 1 million labels and we're going to get some support from somewhere, or because I think that's what I'm kind of feeling like I'm lacking at the moment, is that, like, I can only earn so much in a month and I can only put so much towards the project. But if I had, like, unlimited funds, what would I do with it and where would I spend it? And it's a good question. And I'd go on a really big holiday.
Amber, tell me, what do you think if you call up one of your friends and tell them that you want to quit your musical career and be a carpenter. What do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to say?
Oh, God. It depends on the friend. Depends.
You want to call them, see what they say?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. It depends which friend. There might be a lot of swearing. Hi, babe. Can you chat?
Yeah, what's up?
I don't know. I just like, I feel like I don't know if I like want to do music anymore.
What?
Yeah,
Are you frustrated?
Yeah, I just like, I don't know. What do you think? Like, I have this like urge to do something completely different.
Like,
I don't know. Like, have you ever seen like those old films where like, I don't know, like, you know, in The Notebook where the guy like wants to build the house and he like becomes like a carpenter, but like he builds the whole house from scratch.
yeah.
I feel like I want to do that.
Passion. You can like take some time off to like do something else, but I feel like it's understandable that you're frustrated because you're like self-employed, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's like a really competitive industry that you're in.
Yeah. So yeah.
So what are your other options?
So you don't feel like a carpenter would be a good idea?
I mean, you can do the bird box.
I could build a bird box. Yeah, I guess.
You already have a house.
Yeah, that's true.
Is this a box?
Say that again.
Is this a prank?
It is a prank call. So I'm doing. I knew you. So I'm doing a podcast, and one of the things with part of the game was call your best friend and tell her what she'd say if you said I'm going to give up music and become a carpenter.
That's actually
okay.
right.
I can't imagine you doing all the manual labor.
If music didn't exist in the world,
Oh, so sad.
musician, nothing music related exists in the
Oh my
world.
God.
What would you do?
I'd cry.
What would you do after half an hour cry?
So sad.
Mm-hmm.
I would be so sad. One way or another, it is. I'd say like 80% of my day. Music.
Is music related? Okay.
You know, whether that's listening to the radio or listening to demos in my car or music on a film that I love or creating.
But what would you do if it didn't exist?
If I didn't exist, I'd probably go back to the languages thing.
Okay.
Because it's still a way of like being around people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an art form in itself, but there is beauty in different languages.
Of course.
I
think it's interesting.
Culture within different languages.
I think it's interesting. By studying languages, you probably learn new skills and use them in your career as a music career as well, because obviously 100%. Language is a way of communicating with others. Definitely. And I think it's a very interesting skill to have. Yeah, definitely. And even like going and living in those places, it was a compulsory part, the best part of my university time. A lot of it was filled with music. Like, I know again we're talking about if music didn't exist, but I know when I was living in Paris, like I used to do like 3 or 4 open mics a week. Even though my job wasn't music related, like it kind of was, but it was just it just filled my soul, like it made me so happy. Yeah, that would be a very sad world, I think, Shawn, if music didn't exist. So definitely would be.
Yeah. What
do you do in terms of self-care when you get stressed with everything going on in life? Becomes stressful. What do you do? Do you do exercises, good food? How do you take care of yourself? Well, self-care? Mentally, for self-care, it's definitely friends and family time, no work, and food. Like, I am such a foodie. I was telling you, obviously you're from Iran. Yeah. I was telling you about my auntie. Yeah. She cooks amazing food. I was gonna say. Like, I bet she cooks amazing stuff. Yeah. They were over from Dubai for 3 months. And they came to stay with us, and she cooked some Iranian food. What does she cook? I mean, I don't know what it's called, but obviously the rice, you know, with the egg that you do, the crispy rice. Ooh, that's touching. Okay, touchy. Right? Okay, yeah. And you have the
the kind of tomato, cucumber,
Okay.
like
It's like a
salad. No,
Oh, the
like,
salad. Okay.
what's that called?
Yeah, there are different kinds of salad.
Okay.
Where is she from?
Like,
In Iran,
do
Shiraz.
you know
or-
what? I
Okay.
actually don't know, which is really embarrassing to say because I've been based in Dubai for so long.
Okay.
But yeah, like just good food, and my boyfriend is Italian, so he cooks a lot of Italian food.
Wow. So you got like
I've got
great
a lot
food.
of
Okay, you got a lot of great food.
inspiration,
Then.
yeah, a lot
Okay.
of good food. I love Italian food. I love Spanish food. I love food. So I do actually feel very relaxed, and I was the same when I was studying and I had exams and finals and whatever. Didn't matter how much I had to do. I'd like set aside an hour each day to like cook, because it just like that feeling of like, and you might even have like Netflix on the side, like having your favorite TV show in the background. Like I'm a massive Friends fan. Like if ever there was trivia about.
To be honest, that's how I learned English.
Okay, we're gonna be good friends, Shawn. Then in that case, I just love it. It's like my comfort program, and I know I wouldn't say everything about it, but I'll be watching it and like I'll be laughing and repeating the lines, and I used to reenact scenes at the dinner table when I was still living at home. And my parents and sister, like my mum, dad, and sister, I think they found my reenactments of Friends funnier than the actual TV show itself. So like for me, self-care, Friends, good food, friends and family, and sleep.
Ooh, that's very important.
I love sleeping.
That's very important. Recently, I've got to know this woman. It's been a while. Barbara O'Neill. You might have come across her.
I haven't.
She talks about health all the time.
Yeah.
She's a sensation right now.
Okay.
But she's been doing it for 40 years. But obviously with the privilege of having like YouTube and all the social media, her messages going around, and she talks about health, and she's got so much experience. She's got retreat center all around the world talking about like the problems that we might having because of all the industrial world nowadays. And oh my gosh, she's brilliant. I just
have to
suggest everyone to just go check her out. She's amazing. She's doing some amazing stuff.
Okay.
Tell me, what do you think is going to happen to the future of music?
I don't honestly know. It is scary. I'm kind of very much 50-50 in terms of like always wanting, like we talked about the TikTok thing, like wanting to embrace, new technology. But also I just would hate to see that kind of authenticity disappear. That's like would be my biggest fear from it, is that thing of like I love being in the studio and like getting a vocal take, and that like I don't like messing around with it too much. Like I don't really like Melodyne or things that kind of change the vocal. Like I like it, obviously a little bit of reverb here and there to make it sound nicer to the ears, but generally I don't like messing around with the vocal too much. And so that worries me with AI, the way you take something and you base it off of a vocal, but it's obviously not natural because it's been generated with this technology.
Of course.
I love the way it might be able to create some really kind of different collaborations or different styles of music, or like the possibilities by the sounds of it are quite literally endless. So I'll be interested to see. I honestly couldn't tell you how I see it being, because I hope that the kind of the producers of the world and singers and artists, like they don't cease to exist, because I think that would be really sad. But I guess it's just how it becomes integrated into the music industry that will be, for me, interesting to see how that happens.
It's interesting that you brought it up. As much as it's good to hop on the trend, but I think we shouldn't really forget of the fact and the power of stepping away. Because hopping on everything that is trendy, it might lead to, as AI is going nowadays. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against of technology. You have to use it. Use our mobile phones. Use maybe ChatGPT to write an official email to somebody. But making a choice to step away is gonna stop a lot of things in the future. And I think if I can find that for myself in my life, for my future, is important, because it's gonna help the whole world in a way.
Hopefully, I hope so.
I hope so too.
I
don't really think it's gonna work, but
I know that's the thing, isn't it? It is scary, and all these like futuristic films of like how AI takes over, and like I mean even the fact that they took ChatGPT offline however many months ago because the whole kind of AI thing was just going too fast.
All the students are using it nowadays. Yeah. I think the statistic was like 80-90% of the students were like failing because of plagiarism and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's so accessible. I do throw things in there from time to time for emails, and
sure.
I even was playing around in the session the other day, and like we were struggling. Like you obviously got like Rhyme Zone and things that you can use like as websites, but if you were like, oh, I've got this line and I'm really struggling with it, like give me some rhyming words, or like give me some inspiration based on this theme, and like you might not be taking it, 100%. It might not be taking directly what's been written, but if you're asking for like inspiration along a theme of this, that, and the other, it's brilliant.
Sure.
So maybe that's another example of how it can be used, like in sessions like that, having that kind of third person or in the room or whatever,
intelligent person.
Third AI, to give you that other perspective, some things that maybe you're not thinking of, to kind of better the song and better the creative piece. But it's scary, but I'm kind of halfway house at the moment. I am embracing it in moments of my day-to-day life.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we have to
seeing the positive side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Amber, tell me 3 things that you're grateful for.
My family, my health, and my talent, my music, my voice.
Promise us one thing that you gotta do for yourself after you walk out of here, this podcast session, and promise one more thing you're gonna do for somebody else as a good deed.
So for myself, it's a goal. I want to finish my album, like this first full piece. I don't want to get told or swayed in different directions. I want to just have it. I want that. In terms of my good deed, I have done them in the past, but I want to do more of it. I've done a lot of kind of charity dinners, singing and kind of giving back in that sense, but I want to do more of it. Like I have family friends who are involved in charities, and like it's always kind of, can you do it? And I just don't happen to be free at the time, but I would love to do more of it because I do feel like I'm in that point in my career where I am trying to think of myself a lot, the personal gain, or whether it's I'm earning money for my for the project, for my house, for living, whatever, that you get so caught up in that you don't think about giving back. So I would love to do more of that. As I say, I've done it in the past, but not enough.
Amber, last words.
Well, I want to tell them thank you, first of all, because it's never like one person. It's kind of sacrifices and giving up time from a lot of people, whether they've come to 1 show, 6 shows, they've streamed 1 song, 10 songs, whatever. Thank you there are certain people on socials and that pop up time to time when maybe I'm struggling and I'm posting that, like I'm kind of trying to share the day-to-day of an artist and how it can be a struggle. There are always people that will reach out and say, you've got this, like you're doing really well. And they don't have to do that. They don't have to take the time out of their day to message me and check I'm okay, or in whatever shape or form that is. So yeah, to people that support me, I would say a big fat thank you.
Amber, thanks very much for coming today. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. We hope to see you in the future as well.
Me too.
And is there any good news that you want to promise the audience?
It's the album. The album is well and truly on the way.
Okay.
And I'm very proud of what we've done so far. And I'm just very excited to kind of, to have it out, because what's currently out, I'm proud of, but I know I've got more to give and I've got better things that I can show. So
that's it. Brilliant.
Yeah, very excited.
Thanks very much again. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you,
a lovely
Shawn.
day.